all shiny and happy for the people who are holding hands. Yay. So yesterday sort of proved my point that when I sense something isn't right with the feed, I just need to restart it. And lo and behold, 15,000 views later, things make a little bit more sense. So today we're going to continue our expose into Epstein. Yesterday we were still on Maxwell, but we had gotten to the end. We had at least gotten to his death, I believe. Maybe we had even, but we still had more to read on Maxwell, I'm sure. I've actually been busy all morning looking at different shit and had a bunch of ideas of things I wanted to talk about, and then I remembered we're still talking about Epstein. I wish I could put Epstein in the title so we know, I do it after the fact, but to do it beforehand seems like it screws up the video. So again, it's all just sort of an experiment. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on here, because it definitely doesn't seem there's not consistency, and it doesn't seem to fit the narrative we're told. So I'm just trying to figure shit out. Hope everyone is doing well. Sunday morning mass hole, of course. Gotta love the Sunday morning mass hole. And pop. Come on, we're trying to make the kid breakfast. There we go. My bad. You work with me here. Just as I was going live, my kids were like, that's what we're doing. Throwing a quick break fast together. Quick breaking of the fast. Definitely something strange to that. Like, the thing about all, they end up not knowing. See, that's what comes into play. Like, as much as all this interesting or whatever it is, even the research that we do, at the end of the day, we're only researching what they want us to know. And it's really disheartening when you kind of understand that. Like, as much as you might want to think that you're, unlocking some mystery or something like that, you're really only as deep as they let you swim. And that's not something people are real comfortable with. So even going into this series on Epstein and whatnot, I'm cautious. To me, it's like, it's amazing because once you understand that everything is given to us, and we only know what they want us to know, and then you realize, and then you do the research and you realize, like, even the narrative they want us to know is fucking awful, man. Like, they're not even smart enough to paint themselves in a nicer light. You look at Jewish history and it's awful. And it's the same thing with the thing that Weinstein, Epstein, blah, blah, blah. It's all, like, what they've done is they've presented the best version of the narrative they can. They've spun it, they worded it, they've edited it to make it like, okay, well, we have this horrible piece of shit story, we have this horrible piece of shit person, and it has all these connections to the rest of us. There has to be some sort of bio, but how do we make it, how do we do it without outing ourselves? And that's what we end up getting. We end up getting this
Here.
What?
You're not gonna regret it.
What? The cat? Sitting there?
She's hiding. It's so adorable.
You're so goofy, dude.
She is adorable.
She is adorable, and you are goofy, my man. Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. 30 people. Hi, 30 people. Let's do this. Let's talk about the chosen that control the world. The chosen. All right. Let's see here. All right. So let's go with Robert Maxwell. So you can't talk about Epstein. Well, you can, but you shouldn't talk about Epstein without first talking about Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell is the father of Ghislaine and Robert Maxwell's story is just really phenomenal. I'm actually going to read over one more section that I read yesterday. So this guy has like 4 identities that he's known by in his life. His original name is Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hoch, but he changes it to I mean, again, this is if you believe the narrative, right? If you believe this narrative that Maxwell was this poor Jewish kid, he grew up in the Jewish ghettos, so poor that he and his sisters had to share a pair of shoes. Oh, but bullshit. But all of it. So he escaped Czechoslovakia, which is now Ukraine. The area of which that he came from is now Ukraine. He escaped the Nazi persecution and somehow joined the army. So Maxwell was born into a poor Yiddish-speaking Orthodox Jewish family and had 6 siblings. Most of Maxwell's relatives were murdered in Auschwitz after Hungary was occupied in 1944 by Nazi Germany. But years earlier, he had escaped to France. In 1940, he joined the Czechoslovak army in exile in Mariupol. So listen to this. After the fall of France and the British retreat to Britain, Maxwell, using the name Ivan Demure, I mean, it's like it's not even close to his Jan Hukalak Blukablaka name, but somehow he's now known as Ivan Demure or Leslie Demure. Either or. How many people do you know that have all of these false identities? And who are they always hiding from? I mean, this guy is fighting against the Nazis, which he wasn't, but this is the narratives. This is the thing that they do. They take somebody else's story and then say, oh yeah, that was my name. That's what I went by back then. Mm-hmm. And then they just use that. So if there happens to be someone alive or they'll go, yeah, I seem to remember Ivan Demure, I guess, maybe. By the way, if you're watching and you hate Epstein and everyone associated with him, like, share, and sub. Help a nigga out. Help a halfie out. Help a halfie out. Share the shit. Do what you can to override this clear and obvious censorship on my feed. Or else you just believe that 49 people are here, nobody's commenting. So is this what we have to do today? Are we gonna deal with the comments being all fucked up today again? Let's see. Let's just see what happens. We'll see what happens. No? Yes, no comments have come through yet. So 4 people here, nobody's commenting. I got it. Makes sense. But so Maxwell is known by these other names. And then he goes from like the Czechoslovak army to the British army, where he's made a captain and he's given all this high praise. And then he uses his connections to start publishing companies. And then he buys all the publishing houses and blah, blah, blah. Now, what I find is strange, even more strange again, or maybe not even strange, but telling, the telling aspect. I will go to my grave believing that guys like Maxwell, guys like Epstein, these are high level Israeli secret, agents. And this is a proof, right? So this is Robert Maxwell's Wikipedia page. And one of the headers at the bottom, so you have Pergamon Lost and Regained, that's his company. Later business activities. And then we have Israeli support. Why would he have Israeli support? He's a Czechoslovakian, Hungarian Jew who was a huge mogul in Britain. Like, just listen to this. Listen to how crazy this is. This is a hint. A hint of Maxwell's service to Israel was provided by John Loftus and Mark Ahrens, who described Maxwell's contacts with Czechoslovak communist leaders in 1948 as crucial to the Czechoslovak decision to arm Israel in 1948 Arab-Israeli War. So, apparently, Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, is one of the people directly responsible for the formation of Israel. That's pretty fucking crazy. That is pretty fucking crazy. Czechoslovak military assistance was both unique and crucial for Israel in the conflict. According to Loftus and Ahrens, it was Maxwell's covert help in smuggling aircraft parts into Israel that led to the country having air supremacy during the war. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Okay, listen to this. Maxwell is alleged to have distributed a bugged version of a software, Promis, Promis, which is, today we have the exact same thing. It's called Pegasus. If you're not familiar with the Israeli Pegasus software, it's the thing that allows governments to access your phone, access your laptop, access all of your shit. Even if your shit's turned off, they can still access it through this Pegasus software. And what's even more important is that every government that uses the Pegasus software also gives Israel a backdoor into all of that, because Israel doesn't sell software without it having backdoor channels for Israel to be involved. And you might not believe it, right? So here you go. He's alleged to have distributed a bugged version of a software, Promis, to a plethora of national governments and global financial institutions that enabled mass spying by the government of Israel. Maxwell was allegedly able to sell the bugged soft Israeli version of the Promis software to Sandia National Laboratories and Los Alamos National Laboratory, two of the most important nuclear research and national security facilities in the United States. Maxwell allegedly employed John Tower, chairman of the United States Senate Committee on Armed Services, to facilitate the sales of the bugged Israeli version of Promis software to Sandia and Los Alamos. Who cares if you're YOUR not hiding anything? Look all you want. The fuck does that even mean? See, I think what he's saying is, if we have nothing to hide, we shouldn't care if Israel's spying. Yet when you flip that around, The Israelis are the dumb ones who say things like, when the UN says they want to open the books on the occupation to see if it is the temporary occupation like Israel claims, or the colonization that is pretty obvious, the Israelis say things like, you can't open the books because that demonizes Israel. But the thing is, if Israel wasn't doing anything wrong, then you couldn't demonize them. If looking into Israel's history is demonizing Israel, then Israel must be a bad guy. And you have one of these dumb chosen coming on here saying the United States government, of course they're going to have shit to hide. They're the government. But if the government has nothing to hide, they shouldn't worry about Israel putting spy software. Like, do you know how this is dumb J chosen logic. This is how they need you to be that stupid. Because nothing they say or do is actually intelligent. And if you are intelligent, you can see through it. If you're really stupid, then you go, oh, if the United States had nothing to hide, then they shouldn't have cared if Israel was spying on them. Duh. Do you know how fucking ridiculous that is? Do you guys know that just after Trump was elected, 3 quote listening devices were found strategically stationed around the White House so that they could intercept any and all incoming and outgoing communications to and from the White House? They found these listening devices, and they were like, the listening device would have a range around it. And because they were triangulated like that, they were able to cover the whole White House. And they found out that it was Israeli spy tech. It was actually Israeli listening devices. And nothing happened. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, this is all, like, you can find this for yourself. Right? The Foreign Office, which is the Foreign Office, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministerial Government of the Ministerial Department of the Government of the United Kingdom. The Foreign Office suspected Maxwell of being a secret agent of a foreign government, possibly a double agent or a triple agent, and a thoroughly bad character and almost certainly financed by Russia. See, this is where it's like, just that narrative. Anytime that the system is telling you it was Russia, it was Israel. That's just how they do things. And by the way, if you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. Don't forget to do all those things. It helps out. And if you care about ending human trafficking, exposing Epstein and all of his people, you should be doing that, right? Obviously, I don't think any Jays, any dumb, stupid Jays, or any chosen, whatever you want to call them, I don't think they're going to support this. They never do. Oh, there are plenty of them out there protesting against Israel. And no, they're not. There's a handful, and they don't really say too much. And it really doesn't matter. You can protest against Israel all you want. It has nothing to do with Israel. It's the Jays. Israel is just the distraction. It's just the thing that you focus all your energy on Israel. Who is Israel? It's just like how they always say Hollywood used to be really racist. Hollywood wasn't a person. It was the Jays that controlled Hollywood that were really racist and really separatist and really supremacist. Just like it is now. So when they have you distracted by the Israel narrative, it's not Israel. Just like it's not free Palestine, right? Look at what's happening with Lebanon, Syria, all of the countries to be victimized by the Greater Israel Project. The Greater Israel Project is an expansion of Israel that's going to make it huge, just huge. And they plan on taking the land from all the countries around them. You know? And it's the Syrians, the Lebanese, the Palestinians, the the Yemen, I already said Yemen, just the Iranians, the Iraqis, all the people in that area, all the Semitic people are in danger. Palestine is almost yesterday's story, so it's not about free Palestine, it's about end Israel. And even that is secondary, because Israel is fundamentally, I mean, the foundation of Israel is Jayism. So we have to end Jayism if we want to end the torment. Jesus is king. Duh. Christians, I swear, Christians are the dumbest, man. Jays are the worst, but Christians are the dumbest. You know, all three are Abrahamic religions. They're all three offshoots of Judaism. Christianity comes out of Second Temple Judaism. It's literally all just a Jay fairy tale. And they don't even hide it. Oh, thank you so much. They don't even hide the shit. I mean, think about it. Christians believe that the bad guys of the Bible, not Satan. Satan isn't the bad guy in the Bible. The bad guys of the Bible is, including Abraham, that the bad guys in the Bible are your God's chosen favorite people. And the funniest thing is, they absolutely look down on Christians. They think Christians are the dumbest people in the world. They think Mary is boiling in a cauldron of semen, boiling semen while she's in hell. Like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid nonsense. And that's what I mean. Like this is that part of the narrative that your average Christian Muslim, don't get it twisted. You Muslims are dumb as hell too. You Muslims believe the exact same thing. It's just different characters. But again, at the end of the day, the Christians and the Muslims, they want to save your soul in their own fucked up way. They're trying to do what they believe is right, and they're trying to help you to save your soul and blah blah blah. They actually want the best for you. The Jays want nothing to do with you. They want you to be one of the other two. They'd prefer you to be Christian, so you look at them as the chosen people. I mean, it's incredible how stupid these people are. And you know it because look at the Christians on here. They can't say, "Oh, dude, I think you're mistaken. Oh, man, you're getting this wrong. Oh, you're doing this, blah, blah, blah." They just keep yelling in capitals, "Jesus is king," because they believe in a childish fairy tale, which makes them act like children. What do I think about Orthodox? I think it's all fucking trash. It's all trash. It's all there to keep us stupid and distract us from shit like this. It's amazing to me. Most Christians, they don't actually know anything about their thing. Like, they don't actually know their narrative very well. But you have more attention and energy into something like the Bible, and you don't know anything about a guy like Robert Maxwell, when Robert Maxwell actually did affect your life. Robert Maxwell is an actual, character in this narrative who has affected your life in one way or another. Like, he's not a fairy tale. And yet most of you have no idea who he is. You don't even know who he is, let alone anything about him. That's crazy. My brother in Christ, how have you got so delusion? Right? Because I know things. Again, notice how the Christian won't actually say anything I'm getting wrong. They'll just keep saying stupid shit. "Oh, you're delusional. You don't know, blah, blah, blah. My brother in Christ." Definitely not your fucking brother in Christ. Let's get that right off the bat. I do not support that pedo organization, that J control scheme pedo organization. Sorry. That's some pedo stuff, and I'm not a part of that. I absolutely 100% want that to go. If you're pushing Christ and all that shit, you're a Christian. Whatever version of Christianity you want to pretend like you are that's somehow different, you go right ahead. But in my world, you're just a Catholic. Yeah. You're just some dumb Catholic who well, the funny thing is you're smart enough to see through the basic elements of the ruse. But then as soon as it comes down to, okay, well, let's take this to the next level, you shut down. And what the problem is you say that Christ is a fact. Christ is real, but they're literally, you would think something that allows grown men to rape children consistently and get away with it. You would think it would have, we would go, yeah, well, I mean, I that, but, they cure cancer, or, they, I can't even think of anything that would make raping children okay. But let's just say there was like something good. You can't even come up with good shit. You can't even say, yeah, but at least they do this. They don't. They don't help people. If you're super duper poor and destitute, and you go walk into your average mega church and say, hey, I'm starving, I need a place to stay, I need to eat, I need some help, they're gonna be like, we're calling the police, get the fuck out of here. Joel Osteen closed his fucking doors, baby. They made a big deal out of it. Why aren't you helping all those people? Joel Osteen? He was like, I don't help people. What are you talking about? You're treating every religious person as one. That's absurd. Right. Again, you have to love how it's like you willingly belong to the pedo organization. It's your blind support that keeps those pedos in charge. Yet you don't want any responsibility for it, right? Many churches actually give food and money to people who come in. No, they don't. That's the narrative they want you to believe, but that's not how it works. Somebody made debunk leftist propaganda. That's my name. Duh. All right. Anyway, we do this all the time. I want to get back to the story. He had known links to British Secret Intelligence Service (MI6), to the Soviet KGB, and to the Israeli intelligence service Mossad. Listen to this. Just you don't think there's a conspiracy, right? 6 serving and former heads of Israeli intelligence services attended Maxwell's funeral in Israel. A British guy. He was a British citizen. Why would a British citizen have the highest ranking Israeli military funeral someone can have if he wasn't a fucking Israeli agent? I mean, it's like look at all the stupid comments that come through. Right, I'm trying to sit here and have an adult conversation, and these guys are like, yeah, but let me give you my Christmas list. I want to talk about Santa Claus. Like, you would think every single person that's on here, by the way, like, share, and sub if you're watching. Every single person that's on here, I'm talking about Robert Maxwell, which leads into Epstein. And that whole human trafficking, that whole conspiracy. Why would anyone in their right fucking mind do anything but support this feed right now? Why would anyone be mad at me for talking about this? Other than if you're a J, you're Israeli, or you're a pedo, what would be your motivation for trying to stop me or interrupt or interfere with a feed where that's what we're talking about? I mean, obviously, these Christ is King stupid. All you're doing is reiterating how dumb you are. You know that Jesus, that God is everywhere at all times. So God has this viewpoint of children being raped by clergy and yet continues to do nothing. That's the God you want to believe in, huh? Like it's this kind of shit where you have to, the viewers, you guys have to ask yourself, who is going to be bothered by what I'm saying? Who is going to be negatively affected by what I'm saying? And it's all just Jays. It's all just the chosen and pedos. That's the only people that I can think would be upset. And look at them all. Look at them all. They just the craziest shit they can come up with. Anything they can come up with. I'm literally reading you the factual account of things. And instead of debunking the factual account, they're saying anything they can possibly come up with to try to get somebody that might be on the fence or might be new here or whatever to think, oh, that guy's crazy. I shouldn't listen to what he's saying. Not one of these fucking trolls is like, yeah, man, pedos are gross. We should kill them all or anything like that. Instead, they're mad at me for exposing it. Who's going to do that? Who in their right mind is going to do that? Think about it. Why, if Jews are such good people, how come they're not openly condemning what's happening? How come they're not openly condemning Epstein and Maxwell and Weinstein and all that shit? How come that's not a big thing? How come the Jays, the Jewish people, aren't leading the charge to out and remove the pedos in Hollywood and government that give them a bad name? Why you ain't at church? It's the Lord's day, don't you know? Says a person on my live feed. So either they're in church and they're on my live feed, or they're not in church. Just ask yourself these questions, people. Ask yourself, who opposes the guy exposing pedos? That should answer your question. 6 serving and former heads of Israeli intelligence services attended Maxwell's funeral in Israel, while Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir eulogized him and stated, "He has done more for Israel than can be told today." What does that mean, guys? Why would the former... Think about who you would have to be to get the president to eulogize you. How important does how many people can say they've had a eulogy given by a president or a prime minister? And what does "he has done more for Israel than can be told today" mean? How did the British media mogul do more for Israel than can be told at this funeral? Like, this is the kind of shit where, like, these are the answers that I'd like. And I'd like to know where I can go to get these answers. If I'm not supposed to believe in the conspiracy, then you got to answer these questions. Of course, there's nowhere you can go. There's no one you can talk to. I can't reach out to my local government official, blah, blah, blah. Although back in the day, apparently, all someone had to do was write a letter to a government representative or something like that. Didn't matter what country they were in, nothing. They could get responses. People were always, the government was writing letters. They just had nothing else going on. He has done more for Israel than can be today. And I always read it wrong because I'm, an idiot, I guess. It's actually, he has done more for Israel than can today be told. I keep saying be told today because, again, I'm not an idiot. That can today be told. That's how you speak, isn't it? National Socialist Germany also tells the truth about the Schofield Bible. Yeah, whatever. I'm not even worried about it. talk about World War I, World War II. We're talking about more chosen propaganda. World War I and World War II were solely, like mainly about establishing Israel. All the rest of the shit that came with it was just benefit, was just extra. But World War I and World War II are about Israel. Don't get it twisted. Let's see. Shortly before Maxwell's death, Ari Ben Menesh, a former employee of Israel's military intelligence directorate, approached a number of news organizations in Britain and the U.S. with the allegation that Maxwell and the Daily Mirror's former foreign editor, Nicholas Davies, were both longtime agents of Mossad. Like, again, it's like, how do you still say it's all alleged when the guy had the highest level Israeli military funeral somebody can have, and he was a British civilian, a British citizen. He had British citizenship. He wasn't even supposedly from Israel. He was from Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, whatever fucking you want to call it, but he wasn't an Israeli, supposedly. So why would a non-Israeli get a funeral on the highest Israeli military levels, have multiple prime ministers and presidents and whatnot speak and eulogize him, one of them stating he's done more for Israel than can today be told? How is it an allegation, allegedly, that he was a Mossad agent? How would that even, like, how do you do that? It's amazing, but that's how stupid they have us. Like, I think if you're willing to believe that he might not be Mossad, you probably believe in Jesus. That's sort of how that goes. All right. Ben Menesh also claimed that in 1986, Maxwell informed the Israeli embassy in London that Mordecai Vanunu revealed information about Israel's nuclear capability to the Sunday Times, then to the Daily Mirror. Vanunu was subsequently kidnapped by Mossad and smuggled to Israel, convicted of treason and imprisoned for 18 years. So it's like the proof is all there, but we're still going to claim that it's allegedly? Ben Menash's story was ignored at first, which is, again, gee, who controls the media? But eventually, journalist Seymour Hersh of The New Yorker repeated some of the allegations during a press conference in London held to publicize the Samson option. I've been telling you guys about this for years. So here, let's make a quick break real quick. Okay, ready? The Samson option, Israel's nuclear arsenal and American foreign policy, is a 1991 book by Seymour Hersh. It details the history of Israel's nuclear weapons program and its effects on Israel-American relations. The Samson option of the book's title refers to the nuclear strategy whereby Israel would launch a massive nuclear retaliatory strike if the state itself was being overrun, just as the biblical figure Samson is said to have pushed apart the pillars of a Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself and thousands of Philistines who had gathered to see him humiliated. Because, of course, the strongest man ever, Samson, was Jewish. Did you know that? Like, I didn't know that. I knew the story of Samson and Delilah and all that stuff. I know movies were made. I didn't know he was Jewish. Matter of fact, being a kid and seeing that stuff and him kind of looking like Jesus, I thought he was the Jesus type of guy. According to the New York Times, Hersh relied on Ali Ben Menesh, a former Israeli government employee who says he worked for Israeli intelligence, for much of his information on the state of Israel nuclear program. Hersh did not travel to Israel to conduct interviews for the book, believing that he might have been subject to the Israeli military censor. You mean he might have been arrested and put in prison for 18 years Like that other guy, like Venenu. Nevertheless, he did interview Israelis in the United States and Europe during his 3 years of research. All right. This is so crazy. Like this is more of that proof, right? Like this is and more proof. Like, do you really think the Israeli army, the Israeli military, the system as a whole is going to create a page that says Guy Williams is right? And then they're going to come on here and be like, that guy's telling the truth. Yeah, everything he's saying is true. Is that what you think the system would do? Or do you think the system would create a bunch of fake profiles, Team Jorge style? Team Jorge is an Israeli black ops organization that deals in espionage and cybersecurity and whatnot, that has 40,000 bots at their disposal to be able to swarm any sort of profile, any sort of anything they want. 40,000 social media bots. Team Jorge, Jorge. Put Team Jorge Israel into your Google machine and have fun. Have fun.
Those Hondurans that walked and escaped from mental institutions and insane asylums to come take your jobs and hack into your accounts.
Well, she's making the point that if I say to you Team Jorge, what are you going to assume? Are you going to assume that's Israel? Would anything about Team Jorge make you think anything Jewish? No, it's going to make you think Mexican. It's going to make you think South American, Latino. Just the name in itself is a conspiracy, is a manipulation. So if that's the case, what do you think the rest of the story is? So publisher Random House says on the flaps of the dust jacket that the Samson option reveals many startling events. Among them, ready? By the way, if you're doing it, like, share, and sub. Don't forget to like, share, and sub. It helps out. You guys are watching my feed, whether you like me or throw a dislike on there. I don't give a fuck. But if you're gonna, get entertained by me for however long, you might as well pay the ticket price, which is liking, sharing, or subbing. And I'm going to give you a free download. I don't ask you for shit. I give you free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. Free music, go click download. When it asks how much you want to pay, click 0, and it's free. You could put $10,000, $20,000 in there if you want to, but it's free. That link will be in the description, along with a link to our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Bilderberg Group Official. I assume that you're an illegal immigrant sympathizer. Well, I know that you're a little dick white guy. That's all you got to say. How do you say I'm a little dick white guy without saying I'm a little dick white guy? So what you're saying is you're a sympathizer for the illegal immigrants? Coming to take our jobs. You know, all those white people out there trying to get those jobs picking strawberries. You always see, like, everybody I know is like, man, can't wait till I get older so I can go get me a strawberry picking job, as long as those Mexicans don't take it first. I want to pay $38 for a carton of strawberries, don't you, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing revealed, how Israel stole U.S. satellite reconnaissance intelligence and used it to target the Soviet Union. How Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir directed that some of the intelligence stolen by American Jonathan Pollard, who spied for Israel, be turned over to the Soviet Union. How Israel created a fake control room at the Dimona nuclear facility to hide from American nuclear weapons inspectors its use in creating nuclear weapons. How President Dwight D. Eisenhower's administration tried and failed to force Israel to acknowledge its nuclear ambitions. how Israel threatened to use nuclear weapons on the third day of the 1973 Yom Kippur War, blackmailing U.S. President Richard Nixon into airlifting military supplies. How Israel used a top London newspaper editor to capture Mordecai Vanunu. How a top American Democratic Party fundraiser influenced the White House while raising money for the Israeli bomb. How American intelligence finally learned the truth about Dimona. The American Library Association book review lists additional significant revelations in the book. Fuller details about the Israeli bombing of the Iraqi nuclear facility in 1981. Again, now, before I go further, think about this. Who in their right mind is going to be upset at what I'm doing and saying right now? Who is going to be upset at an American guy literally reading the narrative that us dumb American goyim are supposed to know? Who is going to be upset about this? Who is going to be upset about an American exposing Israel? Especially considering this has to do with the pedo situation, Epstein, all that stuff. Who's going to get mad though? Please? Anybody want to tell me who's upset about what I'm saying to the point where you want to troll me and you want me to stop talking? And like, how if I stumbled across a feed of somebody doing this, they could have a Confederate flag in the background, and if they were talking about this shit, I'd like and share that video. I don't care who you are. You could be a pedo hunter that only focuses on black homosexual pedos. But as long as you're trying to eliminate pedos, you're okay in my book. I don't care how racist you are. I can get over your racist nonsense if you're going to work with me on eliminating pedos. Oh, Patrick, if I brushed my hair, Patrick likes dudes to have their hair brushed. When Patrick likes a dude, they have a clean shaven face and a nice haircut. Right, Patrick? That's how you like your dudes?
Oh my God, you're cute.
He said it, not me. He's not upset about the things I'm saying. He's upset because my hair isn't combed. I guess he likes his dudes a little more clean cut. Just remember, I could literally beat my wife every day, beat my children, kick my dog. I could sell drugs. I could be an alcoholic.
You can't kick the dog and kill you.
I could be a drug addict alcoholic. I mean, you name it. You name the disgusting, why would you beat your wife? That's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Any of those things. Does that make what I'm reading any less true? Does that somehow make all of this information any less true? Ask yourself, who is going to do it? Who is going to be bothered by me exposing Israel? Exposing Israel and exposing pedos. My mission statement has always been, has been since January of 2020, when I first really started feeling the clamp, that we cut off Israel. This was before I actually knew all this stuff. So back then it was cut off Israel and use that money to create proper government pedo hunter programs and essentially eliminate the pedos. Now it's a little deeper than cutting off Israel, but still, who's going to oppose that? Does anybody on here oppose cutting off Israel and using that $3.8 billion a year, $18+ billion since last October? Does anybody think that money that's being used to murder innocent women and children in Palestine and Lebanon and all these other places, do you think that money would be better spent eliminating the pedo situation? Creating drug programs, fixing the roads, giving house spouses a minimum living wage? Anything? You think giving Israelis money to murder people, to commit genocide, using planes and American-made jets and American-made bombs, and more and more reports are coming out that they're using secret shit, illegal shit, white phosphorus, and all these other things. Because they're not cowards or anything. The Jays, the Israelis, they're not cowards. They're real tough guys dropping bombs on women and children, right? That Israel collaborated with South Africa on a nuclear test over the Indian Ocean in '79. That during the 1991 Gulf War, Israel pointed nuclear-armed mobile missiles at Iraq. That Israel holds a few neutron bombs in addition to several hundred other nuclear weapons. That U.S. policy toward Israel's nuclear program was quote, was not just one of benign neglect, it was a conscious policy of ignoring reality. That's the American Library Association saying that. There's no conspiracy theories here, people. I mean, the definition of a conspiracy is two or more people working together to affect the outcome of a situation. So everything you believe is a conspiracy. It's just which conspiracy do you subscribe to? Do you dumb Christians subscribe to the idea that the bad guys in your Bible who look down on you, that they are your God's chosen people and they're the good guys? Do you subscribe to that? Why? Is it because the book they gave you, which is why they put their book in the front, the Old Testament is in the front of the Bible, to put you in your place? Why would you? Why? I say this every time. If you got a job at McDonald's and every single pamphlet, everything you read behind the scenes told you about the Whopper for the first part of it, the first pages of it were all about the Whopper and Burger King, wouldn't you start to be like, hey, wait a minute. What? Does Burger King own McDonald's or something? Why would I have to learn about, You're a child. Man, I'd love to believe that the children of today are this smart. Because if you look at who's the first, we're told that the Gen Zers are the worst. Oh, they're the worst. They're the laziest. They're the awful. They're just terrible. This generation is just terrible. And yet this is the first generation to, across the board, from the richest schools, Harvard, Columbia, Yale, all these schools, down to like Schoolcraft College and shit. The kids of Gen Z across the board are the first to openly protest Israel. So they're better than any of us, that's for damn sure.
They don't have the Holocaust shoved down their throat.
Exactly. They weren't fed that false narrative like we were. They most people believe that the Jays control, like, first of all, they've convinced you to think saying that the Jays control the money, the power, Hollywood, the government, all that is somehow a slur. Would you be offended if I said the Greeks controlled all the money and the power in Hollywood?
No.
Why would anybody be offended by that? That's an incredible accomplishment, especially when you only make up 0.183% of the world's population or 2 to 4% of the U.S. population. For you to control everything like you do, oh, Jesus. Oh, my Jesus. Do you guys know that vaginas can dye clothes? Did you guys know that? That your vagina can get so toxic that it can bleach your clothes? And not just your pants and everything.
It literally means your pH balance is normal. Oh my fucking God, you people are stupid.
You got a bunch of bleached panties that you can show me there, sweetheart?
No, I guess my pH balance is off.
Citrusy, spicy.
It means you are perfectly normal. No, it doesn't.
My tongue is tingling, sweetheart. What is that? Oh, just keep going. It's normal. It's fucking crazy, isn't it? Like, no, look what's happening. Look at all the crybaby shit on my page. Instead of intelligent people, especially these super smart chosen, instead of them coming on here and telling me what I'm getting wrong and reassuring anybody watching that, hey, this guy's just mistaken, and they're doing everything they can to try to, yeah, you're this and you're mad. Why? Why would anyone be mad at me right now? I'm exposing the Israeli chosen conspiracy. I'm proving to you that it exists. Who's going to be mad about that? Again, they've convinced you that you can't say any, you can't even talk about them. And that's what I was saying. Most of us already know this stuff. We already know who controls the money. We've all heard the jokes. We've all heard our grandparents or parents saying something at one point or another. And we all know that we're not allowed to say that. That's the only people we're not allowed to talk to or talk about. I could sit here and make videos about Muslims all day. Notice how I'll say all these words. I'm censoring myself because I know what they're, how desperate they are. So I could sit here and talk about the Jesuits. I could sit here and talk about the flat earth. I could talk about Trump and Hollywood, Illuminatis and New World Orders and what's that thing? Whatever. New World. I could talk about any of that shit. Freemasons. You name it. And my feed won't go anywhere. If I sit here and I tell you the Bible, if I say the devil is in control and the devil controls this realm and you need to repent and pray to Jesus, blah, blah, blah. If I start pushing that bullshit, my feed will explode. I'll be allowed to have tons and tons of viewers if I push crazy, fake nonsense. The two things we're not allowed to talk about are the J's and the jabs. The J's both way. You're not really allowed to talk about our health. You're not allowed to question things and read things and ask, learn about the history of the V's of the pokes. Not allowed to learn any of that or talk about any of that. And you're not allowed to talk about the J's, the chosen, God's chosen people, and we're not allowed to talk about them. Why? If you're right or you're telling the truth, don't you encourage people to engage, ask questions, learn from you? That's what I do. I believe I'm right, or at least I believe I'm on the right path, and I encourage everyone to join me in this journey. And if you can prove me wrong about anything at all, do it. All the people that are desperately trying to get me to talk about submarines. There are the first 9 parts of this series that are all about submarines. Go look at it. Go try to figure it out for yourself. I did all the in-depth information I could find. And it's just like anything else. Why would anyone be mad if I don't believe in submarines? Why would that bother anyone? Other than it's people who are desperate to try to keep us believing that narrative, and they don't want someone like me actually reaching people. It's one of the oldest adages ever is, the people you're not allowed to talk about are the people you should talk about. And in my world, look, you can find a truther, a conspiracy theorist. You can find one of us talking about damn near everything. You want to talk about chemtrails? Go talk Matt Landman. That dude knows all the ins and outs about chemtrails. Go talk to him. Do you want to talk about you want to talk about any of the other distractions? There are people talking about it. You want to talk about any of the tentacles of the monster? The fingernails, the toenails, the fingers, and all that shit. You cut off a finger, you cut off a hand, guess what? The monster still exists. And this monster just grows it back. You cut off one of the tentacles, it just grows right back. The only way we kill the monster is to cut off the head, and that's all I'm trying to do. That's where our focus should be, is cutting off the head of the monster. And part of that is for you guys to join me on this journey, and it's not just an information journey, right? It's not just about learning how what happened. It's learning how things work. Focusing on the past is just a small piece. We should be focused on the present. What's happening around genocide literally happening now. But, it's hard to get people to see that, especially with all their preconceived bullshit. So I'm trying to address that. I'm trying to get in as deep as we can into what everybody thinks and believes and whatnot. And let's just be honest. Be honest with yourself and be honest on the feed. And whatever you think, whether it's right, say it. We'll see. Again, ask yourself, who's going to oppose someone like me? I'm definitely not pushing a Republican or a Democrat I'm telling you it's all bullshit. So who's going to get mad about that? Christians are hilarious. They love to get mad at me, but they don't know anything. I have literally never had an intelligent conversation with a Christian before, because most of them barely know any of it. And the ones that do kind of know it, well, I mean, it's very limited. So, we're talking about the Samson option. The New Scientific Book Review lists specific examples of U.S. officials' suppression of information. CIA analysts kept quiet about what they found in Lockheed U-2 spy plane photographs of Dimona during the 1950s. Number 2, Louis Strauss, chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission during the 1950s, probably knew about and supported the Israeli nuclear weapons program. The review also notes the revelation that U.S. President John F. Kennedy attempted to persuade Israel to abandon its nuclear program, and angry notes were exchanged between Kennedy and Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion in 1963. Hey, when did Kennedy get shot?
You're asking.
No. He got shot in 63. Isn't it funny how there's so much available information about Johnson doing it and Hunt doing it and all these different conspiracies. And there's like a lot of really good information out there. So much so that Oliver Stone was allowed to put a movie out all about it. High budget 3-hour movie all about JFK. Back and to the left, back and to the left, back and to the left. It's one of the most obvious bunches of bullshit. Like, seriously, the more you look, it's just like any other thing. The more you look into it and try to debunk it, the more you're just going to be like, what the fuck? The more you try to prove the official narrative is true, the more you're just going to be like, what the fuck? This isn't real. And how there's so much information telling us to look this way, look this way, look this way. And yet, it's probably more likely that he ran a... I mean, I don't even believe the Kennedy assassination. I don't know. But actually, you know that famous film, the Zapruder film? Abraham Zapruder, guess what he was? The one guy that happened to get the best footage of the Kennedy thing, he just happened to be chosen. He just happened to have Israeli ties. What a surprise. He just happened to be in the right spot. But once you understand that the Zapruder film has been edited, it's been edited. Once you understand that, Doesn't matter. What you're seeing doesn't matter. It's just that simple. Once you know that there is an edit, even a little one, they say, oh, we just brightened it up a little bit or whatever. No, it's fake. So, if you're watching and you say care about this kind of shit, don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. All that shit helps out. And when you look at what we're up against, you know, they refer to themselves as J Americans. The state of Israel is the most important thing to them. They are unified long before anything else. They don't care what they look like. I mean, they do care how official you are. If you convert, well, you're not really a part of the group, right? Like, but they appreciate it. You're better than the rest of us, dumb goyim, but you're still worse. But like, oh, it looks like the comments have been shut down again. So the point being, wow, that's a lot of comments. So the point is, they're always unified, always. They're them first, and then they're American, or they're Canadian, or they're whatever. But they'll always tell you they're J first. And if you have any conversations with them, you just meet them, whatever, it'll always come out within about 5 minutes that, well, you know, as a J, I think this, I believe, they'll always work that into the conversation. Prove it wrong. Go ahead. Next time you're talking, just see what happens. But as I say all the time, if I'm wrong, like I always think this about Christians. If I'm wrong, what does that matter? You know, you shouldn't be bothered by me being wrong. You should be trying to help me understand. But instead of helping me understand, you want to attack because I'm making you think in ways you don't like thinking. The funny thing is, if you really do allow yourself to be honest, you know I'm not saying anything that you haven't questioned yourself, especially when you were younger. But your parents, the system, they made you, just accept it, regurgitate it. You want to get paid, don't you? Payment comes in your grades. In your grades, they allow you to get your payment. Whether it's freedom, whether it's, you get paid for, $10 an A or whatever it is, like, you have to do as you're told to get what you want. And if that's the truth, if what that system says is the truth, then why does it matter if someone questions it? Other allegations in this synopsis include the U.S. did not understand that Israel saw the Soviet Union as its number one threat, that even before he became president, Nixon's national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, who is one of the worst people of all time, had told Israeli leaders that the U.S. would not help Israel if the Soviets attacked, that Israeli missiles targeted the Soviet Union from 1971 on, that the Soviets had added 4 Israeli cities to their target list, that the Soviets had threatened Israel after 1973 war because Israel kept breaking ceasefires with Egypt. You know the thing about that kind of shit that you always have to pay attention to? Israel has always claimed that there's 150,000 rockets pointed at Israel at all times. How come nobody ever pulls the trigger? It's not like Israel has just been sort of sliding by every once in a while. They do something kind of fucked up, but, especially even though they do fucked up, they provide so much good to the world. It's nothing like that. Israel literally doesn't do anything good. And they do lots and lots of really, really bad shit. And yet nobody ever, Soviets, the Saudis, the Iraqis, the Iranians, nobody ever is like, hey, fuck you guys. Number two, the White House under Kennedy was fixated upon what to do about Israel's nuclear weapons. However, none of the prominent Kennedy biographers, including Arthur Schlesinger and Theodore C. Sorensen, mentioned that fact. That's weird. In December 1960, the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission chairman, John A. McCone, revealed CIA information about Israel's Dimona nuclear weapons plant to the New York Times. Hirsch writes that Kennedy appointed McCone director of Central Intelligence in part because of his willingness to deal with Israeli and other nuclear issues. And despite the fact that McCone was a Republican, McCone resigned as director in 1965, feeling appreciated by Lyndon B. Johnson, who he complained would not read his reports, including on the need for full-fledged inspections of Israeli nuclear facilities. That's weird. Why not? President Johnson suppressed the January 1965 Gilpatrick report, which called for tough anti-nuclear proliferation efforts, including against Israel, because he feared backlash from American Jews. In June 1960, June and July. In 1960, isn't it funny how America's freedom is the 4th of July? In June 1965, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, publicly called for many of the report's recommendations, invoking his assassinated brother's name, thus provoking Johnson to further bury the report. Gee, what happened to Bobby Kennedy again? Oh yeah, he was killed by Sirhan, who never denied doing it, but said that he was at home cleaning or something. The phone rang, and then suddenly he came to, and he was holding Bobby Kennedy's body and was like, what the fuck? What's going on? That's why when you see the pictures, he looks like he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He said, yeah, obviously I did it. I just don't remember doing it. Funny thing is, Sirhan has all sorts of connections to MK Ultra. But again, I'm sure that's just a coincidence, right? All of you guys on here, you probably all have connections to MK Ultra, don't you? Hirsch alleges that the Soviets learned about and communicated to Egyptian President Anwar Sadat Israeli threats to use the Samson option in the 1973 war. Menachem Begin, the guy's name is Menachem Begin. Menachem Begin's Conservative Party coalition, which took power in 1977, was more committed to the Samson option and the necessity for an Israeli nuclear arsenal than the Labour Party. Rather than merely react to the attack, they intended to use Israeli might to redraw the political map of the Middle East. Begin, who hated the Soviet Union, immediately targeted more Soviet cities with nuclear weapons. Hirsch includes two quotations from Israeli leaders. He writes that a former Israeli government official with first-hand knowledge of his government's nuclear weapons program told him, "We can still remember the smell of Auschwitz and Treblinka. Next time, we'll take all of you with us." And he quotes then Israeli Defense Minister Ariel Sharon as saying, "We are much more important than Americans think. We can take the Middle East with us whenever we go." Really, really interesting. So I want to do the Samson. Okay, the Samson option is Israel's deterrent strategy of massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a last against a country whose military has invaded and or destroyed much of Israel. Okay? No conspiracy theories here. This is what you are supposed to know. This is what the system wants you to know. And look at the edit feature. The edit feature on this page is locked. Isn't that interesting how the edit is locked? I don't read the comments when I'm reading other stuff because it's impossible to go back and forth. And considering most of the comments are just dumb trolls trying to distract, it ends up being a boring feed. So I think more of you would rather learn than hear me have a pissing contest with people who aren't equipped. Israeli trolls. You guys should all look up Team Jorge. TEAMJORGE, Israel. That is your 100% smoking gun. If there's anything you take from this, if there's anything you go try to prove me wrong on, go look up Team Jorge, Israel. Commentators also have employed the term to refer to situations where non-nuclear, non-Israeli actors have threatened conventional weapon retaliation. The name is in reference to the biblical Israelite judge Samson, who pushed apart the pillars of a Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself and thousands of Philistines who had captured him. So not only this Jewish man was so strong that he broke the temple. Broke the goddamn temple. Nuclear ambiguity. Israel refuses to confirm or deny it has nuclear weapons or to describe how it would use them. A policy of deliberate ambiguity known as nuclear ambiguity or nuclear opacity. Now, let me ask you this. If you look up a map of the world, right? And you look up a map of the world that shows which countries are nuclear capable and which ones aren't. And say that the ones that are red and the ones that are, the ones that are red and the ones that aren't are blue. Every single country in this and on that map will either be red or blue. And the ones that have are much smaller than the ones that haven't, but every country is like that, except for Israel. Israel will be purple because Israel's the only one that's allowed to just be like, fuck you. We're not letting in your inspectors. And we go, okay, we were just asking. We weren't demanding anything from you, Israel. Don't worry. Please still like us. Don't worry. Think about that. Let this one evil shit, horrible country who has on their books the Samson option, which says that they'll nuke the world if they ever feel like they're threatened. Why do we then allow them to be like, well, you can't see our weapons. Just keep giving us money. $3.8 billion a year. Bring it. Bring it. Bring it. Come on. This has made it difficult for anyone outside the Israeli government to describe the country's true nuclear policy definitively, while still allowing Israel to influence the perceptions, strategies, and actions of other governments, which is the whole thing with nukes. Nukes aren't real. Nukes aren't real. If nukes were real and guys like Saddam Hussein were real, then they would have launched one knowing their time was coming. Nukes have supposedly been around for a very long time and no one's used them. No government, no anyone has been just psychotic and said, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. Nobody. Yet, as long as everyone believes that if we ever try to remove Israel, then they'll launch an all-out nuclear strike in every direction, well, what are the chances of us actually trying to remove Israel? Most of what exists, just like submarines, is psychological warfare. Just like the idea of a space force. The United States has a space force. So stupid. But as long as you believe it, if they control how you think, then what you think is secondary. If they have you believing in invisible germs that get you sick, well shit, then you'll believe you have an immune system. Let me ask you. Hey, what's your immune system? Point to it. Tell me what it is. You think you can strengthen it with your steroid shots, but you have no idea what it is. And that's how this whole thing works, man. You know, they control the narrative. You know? If they give you the answer before you have the question, then you'll never ask the real question. You know, if they cut your penis and your parents push that bullshit on you from the time you're born, then when somebody says, hey, how did people get here? You go, well, God made it, duh. You don't even think that there's another option or there's any other, you know. And then, and the funny thing is, though, so many of you Christians out there believe in both. You believe that the James Webb Space Telescope is out there taking pretty pictures. You believe in the Big Bang. You believe in all that shit. But then you also believe in God and the Bible. And a lot of it is because you have no idea what the Bible actually says. Most of you don't. But still, they're almost the same story. It's just written differently, and you know, the characters are different. But they're also completely contradictory. And you still believe them both. Estimated, blah, blah, blah. However, over the years, some Israeli leaders have publicly acknowledged their country's nuclear capability. Ephraim Ketzir in 1974, Moshe Dayan in 1981, Shimon Peres in 1998, and Ehud Olmert in 2006. Now, see, a funny thing is everybody thinks that they have like really identifiable names. And a lot of times they do. But I guarantee if I said Perez to you, you wouldn't think that was Israeli. During his 2006 confirmation hearings before the United States Senate regarding his appointment as George W. Bush's Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates admitted that Israel had nuclear weapons. And 2 years later, in 2008, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter stated that the number of nuclear weapons held by Israel to be 150 or more. In his 2008 book, The Culture of War, Martin Van Creveld, a professor of military history at Israel's Hebrew University. What is Hebrew University? Do you know that Hebrew is the youngest language on earth? It was created in about 100 years ago by a guy called Eliezer Ben Yehuda. And it's basically like if you took Arabic and you wrote it out, you put Aramaic on a Arabic, I don't know, whatever. You wrote it out on a piece of paper and then you held it up to a mirror. That's basically what most of Hebrew is. It's clearly just made up bullshit. It's like pig Latin and shit. But they have you believing that it's this old language and all this shit. And the thing about Israeli history is they say that the reason there's not a lot of it is because it was oral tradition for most of the time. So for thousands and thousands of years, their stories weren't written down. They were just told. The telephone game, right? Because that's how things stay accurate. Martin Van Creveld, a professor of military history at Israel's Hebrew University, wrote that since Gates admitted that Israel had nuclear weapons, any talk of Israel's nuclear weapons in Israel, Any talk of Israel's nuclear weapons in Israel can lead to arrest, trial, and imprisonment. Thus, Israeli commentators talk in euphemisms such as doomsday weapons and the Samson option. You've heard the doomsday weapons many times, haven't you? Nevertheless, as early as 1976, the CIA believed that Israel possessed 10 to 20 nuclear weapons. By the way, again, ask yourself who is going to be mad at me for talking about this stuff. By 2002, it was estimated that the number had increased to between 75 and 200 thermonuclear weapons, each in the multiple megaton range. Again, fear propaganda bullshit. Fear propaganda bullshit. If you believe that going to this certain place will get you killed, how likely are you to go to that place, especially when there's so many other options? As long as you believe it, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. And then ask yourself, seriously, why would a country that thinks this way, a people that thinks this way, be so supported by the world? Or especially by the United States? Kenneth S. Brower had estimated as many as 400 nuclear weapons. These can be launched from land, sea, and air. This gives Israel a second strike option if much of the country is destroyed. In 1991, American investigative journalist and Pulitzer Prize winning political writer Seymour Hersh, Pulitzer Prize winning, authored the book The Samson Option, Israel's Nuclear Arsenal and American Foreign Policy, and the preference, blah, 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 blah. Deterrence doctrine. Although nuclear weapons were viewed as the ultimate guarantor of Israeli security as early as the 19th... Uh-oh. Have we passed that mark? Are there censor on? Guys, if you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. Looks like they're going to start tanking the feed, so I need your help. Take 2 seconds to share this shit on Facebook. Share it with the comment, this guy's crazy. Whatever you need to do. But just share it. Get this shit out here. And if you can find intelligent people that will debunk what I'm saying, bring them here. Although nuclear weapons were blah, 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 the country avoided building its military around them, instead pursuing absolute conventional superiority so as to forestall a last resort nuclear engagement. How did they do that? Well, one of the main contributors to that is something called a Memorandum of Understanding. The Memorandum of Understanding is official legislation that like bypasses all, it's bipartisan, and it just transfers from one leadership to the next. But it says that Israel is to have the largest military in that region by quite a bit. And that's to be guaranteed by the United States. So that if anybody else gets anything, so I mean, it's so hard to talk about things without talking about things. So Donald Trump's main legacy is the Abraham Accords, or are the Abraham Accords, whatever. The Abraham Accords are a fancy Jewish name to talk about something called normalization deals. Normalization deals are every president, at least that I can tell from, well, I never heard the term until Biden, but it clearly goes back to Trump. So normalization deals are these deals where Israel decides we want to be able to travel to Bahrain, and we don't want to have to deal with, passport visa bullshit. Just like how Israel was put into the visa waiver program here in the United States a week before, on September 30th of 2023. And that basically said that Israelis were allowed to travel here free of any sort of hiccups. They weren't supposed to get into the program because they didn't meet the requirements. The requirements being that our citizens are allowed to travel there just as freely as they're allowed to travel here, including Palestinian Americans. And Israel had a very open policy of discriminating against Palestinian Americans and Americans in general. And they were given until a certain date to prove that they had rectified this. And they just flat out were like, we're not going to change this. So American policy said, well, you know what? We think you'll change it by Passover of 2024. So we're going to put you into the visa waiver program, even though you didn't meet the requirements. And then you have until Passover of next year to meet the requirements. Well, of course, 7 days later, they did the fake the false flag October 7th bullshit where no Israelis died and no Israelis were taken hostage. And that whole thing is just out the window. Well, this has all been facilitated over the previous years. Trump's number one goal was to sign all of these normalization deals or the Abraham Accords with all of these countries. So what will happen is Trump will go to Bahrain and he'll say, okay, what do you want to allow the Israelis to travel to and from as much as they want, and that you will turn a blind eye to anything that Israel does, say, I don't know, to the Palestinians on October 7th of 2023. Well, let's just say that was a thing. What's it going to take for you to do that? And the country will say, and the United States is then, like in the case of Bahrain, any sanctions that are against the country get lifted. Again, the travel thing, we give them money. With Bahrain, I don't know the exact number, but let's say we give Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets so that they'll play nice with Israel. The memorandum of understanding that guarantees Israel has the largest military then means we have to give Israel 25 F-35 fighter jets because we gave Bahrain 20. And so Trump signs all of these normalization deals with all of these countries in that region, but couldn't get Saudi Arabia. That's the Abraham Accords. That's why you don't see any of the Muslim countries out there coming to the defense of the Palestinians. Qatar, Qatar got the World Cup for doing it. I mean, it's obvious what it all is. And so all of 2023 prior to October 7th, Biden had made multiple trips. Anthony Blinken seemingly lived there and made trips here. Jake Sullivan and multiple other high-ranking Americans, be it politicians or actors or whatever, were over there trying to negotiate on Israel's behalf with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Israel are the two most guilty of war crimes countries in the world. Like, these countries are consistently committing war crimes. And yet, our presidents are trying to negotiate deals between them so they will play nicely. Well, the Saudi Arabians said they wouldn't sign it. That's why they still didn't sign it. Even though they didn't sign the normalization deal, they're still not defending the Palestinians, which shows you it's all bullshit. But that was Biden's number one thing. We were going to give Saudi Arabia a fucking nuclear program, a civilian nuclear program, just so they would play nice with Israel, and basically so that they wouldn't attack Israel. That's what the United States is buying for Israel. Israel benefits, The other country benefits, and we, the tax dollars, the taxpayer, we pay for it. When you don't think Israel has nothing to do with us. That's over there. That's 8,000, 10,000 miles away. Why do you care so much about Israel? Blah, blah, blah. Literally, your last two presidents' main goal was Israel. Maybe you should care a little bit more. That's what a memorandum of understanding is. That's Israel is guaranteed whatever we give any other country, we have to in that region, we have to give Israel more of it to balance it out. Oh, let's see. Although they were viewed as the ultimate guarantor, instead pushing for absolute conventional superiority to forestall and last resort nuclear engagement. The original conception of the Samson option was only as deterrence. This is kind of like how they say, the stuff in the Talmud that says if a goyim sleeps with a child, they should be killed. But if a chosen man sleeps with a little girl, rapes a little girl, they're allowed to rape children as long as they're 3 years and 1 day old. And once they do, that child now belongs to them as sort of a marriage sort of contract. That little girl now belongs to that man, and he then has to pay a dowry. And they go, their justification is not, oh, that's not true. They say, oh, no. See, it actually benefits the girl, because in those kind of situations, it's just saying that if that were to happen, that the little girl would get the parents would get the full dowry. That's all it's saying. It's not encouraging it or anything. And nowadays, if you get in trouble for that, you get in trouble for that. So that's all that is. It literally says kill goyim for doing it, but fucking crazy, right? Again, who's going to be mad about what I'm talking about? According to American journalist Seymour Hersh, the Israeli historian Avner Cohen, so you automatically have to know that it's part of it. They want us to know this. That's why it's known, because it's part of that psychological deterrence. People like me are supposed to think, man, if I actually were to be able to get all the people to revolt and actually do something, I would be responsible for this. Maybe I shouldn't do it. That's why this is known far and wide. That's why I can look it up. It's not some secret. It's supposed to be. It's like when people are saying, oh my gosh, the Israelis keep attacking the aid trucks and not letting aid trucks come into these places they just got done bombing, and they're starving out and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, no shit. They're trying to kill as many of them as possible. Why would they allow aid trucks if they just got done trying to kill everybody? You're being manipulated. Why is my view count down half? I'm talking about the exact same shit, and my views have been cut in half. Why? Ask yourself the question. It's right there. Ask yourself the same question is, why is my view count cut in half? But so many of the commenters are these fake profiles that come here every day to try to get me to stop doing what I'm doing because they hate me so much. It's just like them putting out this information. It's the same. They're stupid. I am telling you, these people are stupid. They're not in control of things because they're better than us. They're smarter than us. They're in control of things because they're more organized, more unified, and they're more ruthless. They're willing to do things like drop bombs from planes on women and children. That's who they are by nature. And then, if they're not the ones dropping the bombs, they're the ones defending it, like they're the victims somehow. I know why you guys hate me so much. I know. Most of you are Israeli bots. Most of you are Team Jorge, just another arm of this shit. And if you don't think if you don't think Team Jorge is a thing, look at the Samson option. If I told you the Samson option was real, you wouldn't believe me until I'm reading you the official narrative that can't be edited. The edit feature on this shit is locked up tight. Gee, I wonder why. According to those two guys, Israeli leaders like David Ben-Gurion, Shimon Peres, Levi Eshkol, and Moshe Dayan coined the phrase in the mid-60s. They named it after the biblical figure Samson who pushed the birth, blah, 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 bringing out thousands and gathered to see him further humiliated in chains and retribution for his massacres of the people. Like, again, that's the most detailed part of this. And they just keep repeating that. It's funny how that works. They contrasted it with the ancient siege of Masada, where 936 Jewish Sicarii committed mass suicide rather than be defeated and enslaved by the Romans. That is not noble. And these are just dumb fake stories. They know 936 of them. This is back in the siege of Masada. Siege of Masada. The siege of Masada was one of the first final events in the First Jewish-Roman War, occurring from 792 to from 72 to 73 CE, on and around a hilltop in present-day Israel. So somebody built that some 2,000 years ago. And then there was a siege, and they were successful, but instead of being, we know that 936, we know those details. 936 of them committed suicide. We know. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? We lost the telemetry data that proves we went to the moon. The how. The bits and pieces, the nuts and bolts of it, if you will. We lost that from the 60s, 1960s. And yet we know accurately how many people supposedly committed committed How many of those noble Jewish people committed instead of being captured by the Romans? Capable of building a town or whatever on top of that huge thing like that, yet they lost and then killed themselves. You know how stupid that is? Do you know how fucking stupid that is? Got it. Such a coke head. When you're a big coke meth head, you always blowing that nose, trying to get the drugs out of your body. In an article titled "Last Secret of the 6-Day War," the New York Times, again, here's some of that crazy conspiracy theory. The New York Times reported that in the days before the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel planned to insert a team of paratroopers by helicopter into the Sinai. The Sinai. I don't know what that is. Their mission was to set up and remote detonate a nuclear bomb on a mountaintop as a warning to belligerent surrounding states. While outnumbered, Israel effectively eliminated the Egyptian Air Force and occupied the Sinai, winning the war before the test could even be set up. Wow! Gee, I wonder how they did that. That's amazing. I love when people say things about me being in a basement. Yeah, gotta love that 2-story basement. If somebody is willing to lie so blatantly, so obviously, so easily defeated or easily debunked, everything else they have to say is just nonsense. You lose any sort of credibility when you can be disproven that easily. Love those 2-story basements. No, because I'm so poor. I'm so poor I have a 2-story basement. How would that even be a thing? Wouldn't that just be the first story? I don't know. I'm stupid. You know what? I absolutely didn't even mean to come down this way. We're still supposed to be talking about Robert Maxwell, but it just got... sometimes you got to go with the flow. You got to go where the feed takes you. And I had no idea we'd be talking about this today. I thought I was going to be talking about Epstein. I thought by now I'd be talking about Epstein. Retired Israeli Brigadier General Itzhak Yaakov referred to this operation as the Israeli Samson option. In the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Arab forces were overwhelming Israeli forces, and Prime Minister Golda Meir authorized a nuclear alert and ordered 13 atomic bombs be readied for use by missiles and aircraft. The Israeli ambassador informed President Nixon that very serious conclusions may occur if the United States did not airlift supplies. Nixon complied. This is seen by some commentators on the subject as the first threat of use of the Samson option. And there you go. There you go. You know, these are the worst people in the world. The most disgusting, awful, just awful people in the world. And they brag about it. And the thing is, they're not smart enough to deny it. They're not smart enough to debunk it. So they just embrace it and then tell you you're wrong for talking about it. They are the most, they're as bad as they smell, put it that way. They are as bad, they're worse than they smell. And that should tell you a lot, because they are awful. Awful, awful, awful fucking people. And all I'm doing is reading you proof. And you'll see nobody's even attempting to debunk or deny anything I'm saying because they can't. Seymour Hersh writes that. And isn't it funny how, again, there's these narratives where Israel was just about to do it, and then, it worked out, they didn't have to. Just about to do, it worked. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. We need to stop being scared of something that doesn't exist. And yes, they absolutely have the capability to kill lots of people. They've already shown that. Please look at somebody wishing death on me. Who is going to be mad at me for talking about this stuff? All you Christians out there, are you Christians mad at me for exposing Israeli chosen bullshit? How psychotic and you know, obsessed with murder these people are? It's not only are they committing genocide now, they have a history of it. Their whole existence is based on genocide. If you don't give us what we want, we're going to commit mass genocide. We're going to commit genocide. You don't give us what we want. We want supplies. We want money. If you don't give it to us, we're going to commit genocide. Their entire identity is based on committing genocide against those who disagree with them. They're not trying to convince you that it's okay because look at how much we support you. Look at how much we help you. Look at how much this, that. They don't do any of that shit. It's all genocide. You know why? How much leeway, how much respect do we as humans give cows, pigs, chickens? Think about that. How much respect do we give the trees that then make the tables and chairs we use? Do we respect? We keep them clean and stuff. But do we respect the life that made that thing? When it comes to cows, we eat every part of them we can eat, including their fucking brains and shit. We eat everything we can eat. We wear their skin as clothing. We crush up their bones and use their bones in all sorts of products. Use their hooves to make glue and shit. I don't know. We use every part of that cow we can use because it's a life form. And if you saw baby cows, you'd be like, oh my God, those are so cute. It's a fucking life form. When there is a calf among a group of cows and a threat comes, the cows will circle the calf to protect it. They know they exist. They know they're alive. And we kill them like they're nothing. We grow them to kill them. We literally grow them to kill them. Well, that's how we humans look at life. Well, when you're talking about the Jays, the chosen people, if you're not Jay-ish, you're Goyim. So, you're no different than, all of us human Goyim are no different than an animal Goyim, than the inanimate Goyim, like chairs and tables and beds and shit. We're all just here to be used and consumed by them. That's how they look at things. That's what their horrible, horrible belief structure is all about. And you will never see a single one of them tell me I'm wrong. They cannot tell me that I'm wrong about anything I'm saying. I mean, they might tell me that I'm wrong, but they won't tell me how I'm wrong, why I'm wrong. They're horrible, horrible people. And you have to ask, are atheists going to be mad at me for saying that? I get that Christians might be mad, but if they look at it any bit intelligently, they're not going to be. Muslims sure aren't going to be mad because Muslims haven't been convinced that the bad guys in their book are their chosen people, which is just so fucking goofy. Jays think they're the chosen people. Muslims think they're Allah, they're God's chosen people. And Christians think the Jays are their Christian God's chosen people, despite the fact the Jays look down on Christians and the Jays are the bad guys in the Bible. Do you know how crazy that is? And yet still, you guys are mad at me for exposing the conspiracy, on the book. I'm just reading you what it says. The Samson option is the conspiracy. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Tell me how the Samson option. The Jays are not the bad guy in the Bible. Jesus was a Jay. No, they're the bad guys. You just don't know your Bible. The fact that Jesus was one just shows you how it's all just fucking bullshit. Jesus, see, the thing about Christians is, why do you think you're so drawn to me? Not only is truth sexy, not like fucking sexy, but just attractive sexy. Truth is sexy, but I'm doing what Jesus did. Jesus rebelled against the government. Jesus was the bad guy to the government because he was trying to expose the Jays that control everything. That's what your story says. But again, I ask you over and over, who's going to be mad at me? What person in their right mind, who's going to be mad that somebody is exposing the narrative that it's on the books, it absolutely exists, that they believe that they will nuke us if we don't comply? Seymour, I wish you would have heard this.
Seymour.
This shit's, I mean, you've been downstairs, you've missed some crazy shit. Seymour Hersh writes that the surprising victory of Menachem Begin's Likud Party in the May 1977 national elections brought to power a government that was even more committed than the Labour Party to the Samson option and the necessity of an Israeli nuclear arsenal. Jesus Christ. Why my nose is so snotty? Luis Rene Perez, a professor of political science at Purdue University, chaired Project Daniel, a group advising Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. He argues in the final report of Project Daniel and elsewhere that the effective deterrence of the Samson option would be increased by ending the policy of nuclear ambiguity. In a 2004 article, he recommends Israel use the Samson option threat to support conventional preemptions against enemy nuclear and non-nuclear assets because without such weapons, Israel, having to rely entirely upon non-nuclear forces, might not be able to deter enemy retaliations for the Israeli preemptive strikes. Oh my God. It's insane how when Israel attacks, it's not an act of aggression or an act of war. It's a preemptive strike. Yet if somebody responds to the Israeli strike with any sort of retaliation, then that is an act of war. Who do you think controls the narrative when that's the case? Like you see it consistently where Israel will attack somebody and then they'll put out like press reports or whatever saying, okay, just don't retaliate. If you don't retaliate, everything will be fine. And then if the country doesn't retaliate, Israel waits a little while and then attacks again. And so, okay. Just don't retaliate. If you retaliate, then we're going to bring the fucking pain. Do not retaliate. This was a preemptive strike. I know a lot of civilians, mostly civilians, all civilians were killed. But, hey, there was a tunnel underneath that school. And we know that was a... What are we doing? Hezbollah? Oh, it's a Hezbollah tunnel. Yeah. I almost said Hamas. So used to saying Hamas. No, it's a Hezbollah tunnel this time. We know it. So we destroyed everything. The fact that all of you Christians out there, that your God still, your Jesus still hasn't returned, what the fuck is it waiting for? The main pushers of your shit are consistently caught raping children. Everybody is just like the inflation rates are to the moon. Everybody is barely making it. There's a literal genocide where a lot of the people being killed are Christians, and yet your God just still isn't, the prayer jar isn't full enough. He's just standing there waiting, watching like, all right, okay, we got another 1,000,000 prayers, Dad. I'm going down there soon. All right, another 1,000,000. Wow, they're really praying a lot. They really need some help, don't they?
You know what?
They only got a zillion, bajillion, fulfillion more prayers to go, and then I'm coming down there.
We still need more money.
Right. The prayer jar and then the money jar, and God's like, no, son.
Gotta get that one.
We gotta get that one first, and that thing's not even close to full. So let's just sit back. We'll relax. Hey, Father, what's his name's gonna be raping some little boys later. I'm gonna have a real close up view of it. You want to sit and watch with me, son? Yeah, Dad. We sure do love our pedo stuff, don't we, Dad? Sure do, son.
Gross.
Sure do, son. It's fucking gross. It's gross. It's crazy, and that's what you fucking believe. As goofy as I make it sound, at the end of the day, that's what you believe. And you believe it because they want you to believe in this idea that, you know, like all Christians sort of accept it, that at the end of the day, they can't actually do anything about this. We are powerless. The people that control the world are Satanists. And because, yeah, dude, I am. And because Satan controls the earth as that we live on, like they that's what, just the idea of it, just the thought of it, like the notion that these people accept. They accept the idea that God allows the people that worship the devil to control the earth. Why would God allow that? Doesn't it? I mean, it's not like most of the people don't believe in God. Most of the people give their money and, you know, cut their baby dicks and all that shit. Why wouldn't the God believers be the ones that control the world? It just seems so stupid. And then you go, free will. Oh, God's plan plus free will. How's that work out? How do you have God's plan and free will? If it's God's plan, I mean, it's been fucked up ever since. And if it is God's plan, then again, you have all these preachers and all that. That's part of it.
An asshole God.
Right, that's the thing. Why would you ever want to believe in something like that? Why would you want to believe in something that you know has the power to dinkle, dinkle, dink and make everybody that ever tries to violate a child just in the church? We don't have to worry about the whole world. We'll fix the whole world after the church. But just in the church, dinkle, dinkle, dink is anybody that violates a child or thinks about violating a child and goes to act on it, they suddenly have a heart attack. How many sudden heart attacks of cardinals and preachers and of all that shit, like, how many sudden heart attacks do you think it would take before it would come out? You know, the first time you do it, you get a mild heart attack that you could tell people about. The second time, it's a fucking widow maker, but there's no widow, so don't worry about it. It's Catholic. Yeah, it's only Catholics that are violating children. And if that's the case, even still, why does your Lutheran, Christian, Protestant, whatever God allow the Catholics to use God as their protection to violate children?
How is it that Baptists think that you can be baptized in a lake or a pond or something like that, but the Catholics believe it's got to be like the blessed holy water in the basin in the church? Like,
when did that change take place?
It's crazy.
Well, you would have to think, wait, it's probably because the people here
The pastor blesses the pond,
but they couldn't get the official stuff from, I mean, transporting a bunch.
Gonna share.
Well, but I mean, to bless a whole bunch of water and then send it across the ocean to the United States to then be distributed as official papal holy water, that had to be pretty difficult.
If the pastor blesses the pond, and then they're done with the baptism and they leave, how long does that pond stay blessed?
They do 15-minute blessings.
Oh.
Yeah,
They don't like unbless it before they leave?
No. They use temporary blessings. They know that there's a difference between long term. Like if they do the blessing with their hand up.
To find water to go
If they shut up, Jesus Christ, I'm trying to educate you on the fucking reality of things. If they bless it with their hand up, it's a 15, 20-minute blessing. If they do it with their hands, pray hands, then it's long term. Yeah. So now you know, and you're not some stupid woman anymore. You shouldn't even be talking. 1 Timothy 2:11, woman. So it's really still real difficult to find a whole bunch of information on this. Let's see. Some have written about the Samson option as a retaliation strategy. Ari Shavit, Israeli reporter Ari Shavit, writes of Israel's nuclear strategy. Concerning anything and everything nuclear, Israel would be much, much more cautious than the United States and NATO. Concerning anything and everything nuclear, Israel would be the responsible adult of the international community. It would well understand the formidable nature of the demon and keep it locked in the basement.
The demon in the basement.
But they're better than us, right? They're better than us. Because they're the adult in the room and we're all just dumb fucking goyim children.
Yeah.
It's right there. I'm not making any of this up. How come what I'm reading isn't completely dissuading what's being said, thought or claimed? How come I'm not reading this and then going, oh, but no, no. Okay, so wait, what about what? I'm reading it just as it is and it's awful. 2002, the Los Angeles Times publisher, an opinion piece by Louisiana State University professor David Perlmutter. Israel has been building nuclear weapons for 30 years. The Jews understand what passive and powerless acceptance of doom has meant for them in the past, and they have insured against it. Masada was not an example to follow. It hurt the Romans, not a whit. But Samson in Gaza, like, this is crazy. Right? They're trying to say that, like, the story of Samson actually happened. That this shit isn't like all just allegorical bullshit. That Samson actually existed and was actually the strongest person ever who happens to be a Jew and pulled down a fucking temple. Do you not understand how stupid that is? You guys, come on. And they then use this nonsense to justify their genocidal fucking nature. Like they're saying, oh yeah, well in the Bible, this happened and we can't let that happen again. So if anything ever comes close, we're just going to kill everybody. It's genocide for everyone. They are genocidal maniacs. They are fucking psychotic, genocidal maniacs. Let's reset. Pedophiles, kill yourself. The rest of you, go get your free download. Links are in the description. It's free. Just put 0 in the payment box. Pedophiles, kill yourself.